Okay, so hello and welcome to the latest of the Business Spotlight interviews. I'm delighted today to be joined by Jane Toothill from JBA Risk Management. Hi, Jane, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Morning, Rob.
Good. Looking forward to hearing about you and business this afternoon or this morning. So to start with, could you give us some background on your business and yourself and how long you've been in business doing what you're doing?
Yeah, surely. I did a degree in geology and then a PhD in volcanology at the University of Lancaster. And from there, I started work for the catastrophe modelling company Equicat. From Equicat, I moved to the reinsurance broker Guy Carpenter. And then I started at JBA Group back in 2008, and we formed JBA Risk Management 3 years later. The business I'm in is a branch of the reinsurance and insurance industry, which is called catastrophe modelling. So, by and large, we're making natural hazard maps and models, where a model is something that will tell users of the model how much a particular insurance portfolio might lose to a given peril in a given year. So, for example, we might be able to say that insurer A would lose an amount X to flood in the UK in a particular year or on a given return period basis.
Okay, excellent. And so you talked about you started in 2008 and then you created, is it a new company in 2011? What was the thinking
Yeah,
behind
that's
it?
right. So JBA Group is close to 30 years old now and is a flood specialist.
Right.
Um, when I was working at the reinsurance broker Guy Carpenter, we were purchasing flood models and natural catastrophe models off three major companies who sold those models, and that was very limiting in terms of choice. And they didn't have coverage of the models that we wanted, particularly for flood everywhere worldwide.
Right.
I came across JBA through a mutual contact in Poland from the Polish Insurance Association,
Right.
and he put me in touch with JBA. So JBA to me seemed to be a company that had the niche expertise in flood that was needed to bring together with the knowledge of the reinsurance industry and produce flood models, which were in short supply at that time for insurers and reinsurers. So I joined JBA Group in 2008. And the intent then was to bring the catastrophe modelling business into JBA and let JBA grow into a provider of cat models for the insurance sector. So we started with a handful of people, and by 2011 we had 18 people,
Right.
and were able then to set up the new company. And I was one of the founding directors, and we've grown ever since. We have just over 120 people now. And for all of that time, we've been based in Skipton, North Yorkshire,
Mm-hmm.
which is unusual for a company in the reinsurance sector, which is mostly based in London.
Okay. Fantastic. And what's been so? And I take is that a national or an international kind of business now in terms of where you work and how you help out the insurance businesses? Is that global?
Yeah, so we provide flood maps and models globally,
Right.
and
Okay.
our clients are global. Our staff are mostly in the UK and mostly in
Mm.
Skipton, but we have an office in California and we have
Right.
an office in Singapore. And then we have a number of people who are based around Europe, sometimes because it's helpful for them to be close to our clients in, say, Munich or Zurich, and
Mm.
sometimes because we've got a really good person who wants to move somewhere else, so we've let them stay and kept them on. So we've got people in Sweden, France, and Spain as well.
Wow. Fantastic. And I guess as a business, how how much has it changed over those 12 years now, isn't it? The obviously from a layperson's view, flooding seems to become a much bigger problem over the last 10 years or so. I mean, is that obviously clearly the case, and has it changed what you do and how that's working with the insurers?
I wouldn't say that's necessarily the case. There can be
Right.
all sorts of natural variability and patterns in flooding.
Hmm.
Climate change is obviously having an impact, and I would say there's much better awareness of the possible future impacts of climate change now.
Hmm.
So, in the last 2 or 3 years, we've launched a suite of climate change products globally, and that is one of the changes that we start to see coming into the business.
Right. Okay.
Um, in terms of the insurance and reinsurance sector, they have specific ways of doing business. So, for example, specific ways of underwriting, and for that they need specific products. So that's some of the things that changes a little bit more slowly.
Okay. Um, so you talked a little bit about the niche of that business. So what is it that makes you different or stand out from other businesses in the sector that you're in?
So it was that flood niche that made us stand out.
Yeah.
When we set up the company, as I've mentioned, there were three main providers globally, and those companies had set up providing models for mostly wind and earthquake.
Right.
And those are quite different natural hazards from flood. So if you think
Mm.
about a windstorm impacting, take the UK as an example, then you get relatively low levels of damage, but over a very
Yeah.
large area. So a storm can impact, most of the UK in one go.
Hmm.
For flood, that's very different. And if you think back to things like the Boscheston flood, which was a few years ago now, but got quite a lot of publicity at the time, that's causing very intense damage
Mm.
just in one small area. And if you think about the nature of flooding, it varies with the terrain, which can obviously vary from metre to metre or property to property. And that means that you have to come up with very high resolution modelling. And you
Right.
get into the business of hydraulic modelling, which is quite specialised as a technique. And we were much better placed to do hydraulic modelling either quickly or over a very large area than our competitors. So JBA holds the world's largest 2D hydraulic modelling grid based on GPU machines. And
Right.
some of our initial success was because back in 2004, 2005, actually before I joined the company, we were making inroads into being able to carry out modelling on GPUs, and that was giving us performance factors of multiples of 1,000 in terms of how quickly we could do our modelling.
Right. Okay.
So if you look at where we are today with that, that means that we are one of few or maybe the only company who is able to model, for example, the whole of the United States at 5 metre resolution, or
Right.
the whole world at 30 metre resolution. In the UK, we also model at 5 metre resolution, but it's been that technological niche that has helped us. And then also the knowledge that we've had of the insurance and reinsurance industry to know how to turn that really scientific, detailed work that we do into a usable product that insurers and reinsurers can incorporate in their business.
Excellent. Okay. And how does it work in terms of are you asked to provide certain things, or do you just are you looking at areas and whatever on a regular basis? Because obviously insurers are looking, will need that information, I guess, at different times throughout the year or whenever they're looking to utilize the data that you provide.
So they'll be using it continually as they write insurance policies.
Yeah.
And we will seek to update our products on a pretty regular cycle. So things like flood defences, as a good example, can obviously
Yeah.
change relatively quickly. And if
Hmm.
there's a new flood defence scheme put in, then it's helpful for the insurers if we can incorporate the positive impact of that
Cool.
in the product that we provide them with.
Cool. Okay. And does it provide your analysis? Does it kind of vary on the severity of the flooding, so you can estimate the potential consequences dependent on different factors within that? Then is that how it kind of would work?
Yeah, that's right. So if you take river flooding as an example,
Yeah.
we will carry out hydrological estimates that tell us the return period of different flows in the river. And then
Right.
for each of those flows, we will model where the water, well, firstly, whether or not the water gets over the defence system or out of the riverbank. And then we model the flow of water across the land to work out how deep it will get to be at different places. And
Yeah.
then that information can be combined with information about property locations so that you can predict the depth of water that you would see at a given property.
Right.
We produce maps for a series of fixed return period maps. So, for example, we map the flood extents from a 20-year flow, a 50-year flow, a 75-year flow, and up to a 1,000-year flow in the UK. And it's those return period maps that the insurers can incorporate into their underwriting.
Oh, okay, brilliant. So in terms of the actual business itself, it sounds like it's been a very positive, journey in terms of growth, etc. So just give us an idea of how that's done, how that's grown over the 12 years that you've been operating.
Yeah, we've grown very steadily from a turnover of 3 or 4 million to start with to a turnover of probably around about 8 million this year. Wow. And in terms of staff numbers, that's been steady growth as well. And in terms of clients, we have over 150 clients worldwide now. Right. Some of those are direct clients, so insurers and reinsurers, and some of them are resellers who can go on and incorporate our data into products that they provide with their clients. But yeah, it's been steady growth throughout, and we're branching out now into slightly different sectors. So thinking about how we can serve banks. And obviously, geographically, we started very much in the UK, but have become global. So we provided global flood maps and products from about 2014 onwards. But we've had strong growth, particularly in some specific markets. So we're very strong, for example, in Ireland. We're the market leader in Canada as well, despite not having an office there. And at the moment, we're making good inroads into the South African market as well. A lot of that growth is often driven by timing and opportunity and events. So I think being opportunistic has been very important. And if you go back 20 years, the sorts of flood model that I'm describing just didn't exist. Right. And the awareness of the need for those models is often triggered by the occurrence of a flood event. So in Canada, for example, there was flooding in Calgary in 2013, and we visited the market just after that and found that no one knew anything about flooding at all. So that was a great time for us to go there and explain what we could provide and what it could do for the insurance market there.
Excellent. Okay. And you mentioned that, so the future is looking to expand into the international territories. Is that the strategy you're looking at now?
Yeah, so we already have global coverage with all of our products. But in terms of the quality of those products, we're very dependent on the quality of terrain data that we can get hold of. So terrain data might be satellite-based data, or it might be airborne flown data. Globally, the best we can get is at 30-meter resolution. We've got 5-meter resolution data available in some countries, but as other countries are able to upgrade their terrain data to 5-meter resolution as well, then we can obviously update the level of resolution of our modelling alongside that. So that's one sort of ongoing improvement that will happen with time. And then obviously with something like climate change as well, we have to be very careful to keep our products updated to ensure that they reflect the current climate and not, the climate 10 or 20 years ago, because that's the sort of average point in a lot of the historic measurements.
Sure. Okay. And on the flip of that, what do you feel your challenges are moving forward as well? When you look over the next 5 years, where do you see challenge for your business?
Yeah, the climate change is a challenge in itself, just because no one knows what's going to happen. We can model it all we like, but no one can predict the future. And alongside that, a lot of our clients also don't quite know how they're going to start incorporating its impacts in their business. And I think as a result, we get asked for a lot of different time horizons of information, and a lot of information based on a lot of different climate models and for lots of different climate scenarios. And if you think that, it takes us a certain amount of time to map the whole world, and that amount of time is certainly months, if not years, then if we're trying to produce that data for multiple different climate scenarios, then that becomes very time consuming.
Mm.
So by and large, the work that we do, because it's so high resolution and so extensive geographically, we're forever pushing the bounds of what today's computers are capable of. And
Right.
it's a no change story, because we will continue to do so. But
Mm.
nonetheless, I'm sure in 5 years, then computing will have moved forwards, and therefore we'll have moved forwards what we do.
Mm.
And that's perhaps being accelerated at the moment by AI, which
Yeah.
is quickly starting to make its mark and helps us in all sorts of areas. So things like identifying from terrain data where there might be flood defences present.
Mm.
There's a lot of things that we can use AI for in our technology.
I was going to actually ask that question. Obviously, you talked about the fact you use technology in such a big way. The impact of AI. So you're starting to see the benefits of that already in terms of what it's the data it's helping you generate.
Yes, I would say so. And we've got a lot of developments underway to see how it can help us more as well.
Okay, perfect. So when you're obviously as you grow, you bring new people into the business. What is it? What qualities do you look for in employees when you bring them into JBA?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's obviously a need for technical skills and technical
Mm.
capability. I would rate enthusiasm very highly,
Yeah.
and I would rate teamwork very highly. But I think if you've got an enthusiastic team player who can deliver what's needed and have a positive impact on the morale of everyone in the team around them,
Mm.
and really drive things forward and be excited about what they're doing, then I think that's
Cool.
a lot of what you need.
Cool. And how do you because obviously you mentioned you've got people around the globe. I mean, a majority working in the UK, but obviously people working in different countries. How do you try and create that kind of feeling of inclusivity across that kind of with that situation in the business?
Yeah, I think a lot of our, the offices in the US and Singapore are different, and were there before COVID. And we
Right.
have to have kind of return visits and conference calls and work out, the time of
Mm.
day that works to talk to those people. But a lot of the spread of staff that we have more in Europe has been since COVID. And I
Right.
think hybrid working and the ability to, really easily set up a
Mm.
conference call and have a meeting, that helps no end. We
Sure.
have a quarterly company meeting where we get everyone together in Skipton, and that's great for putting faces to names and getting to
Mm.
know people in the bar after work,
Sure.
and do a lot of complex planning in the day as well that can
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
quite clumsy over a video call. But yeah, between those meetings, then hybrid working, I suppose, suits us very well to some
Mm.
extent. It can be efficient to work at home,
Yep.
um, and we seem to have adjusted to it without too much difficulty.
Excellent. And since being involved in the business, starting to manage it, and what's been your biggest learnings from that perspective in terms of the business side of things?
It's a difficult question.
Right.
I think, though, probably it's the point that I mentioned earlier about being opportunistic,
Mm.
because you can do the best things in the world, but if you don't take that to the market in the right way and at the right time,
Mm.
then even if it's really good, people don't necessarily want to change their habits and working practice to accommodate it. So I
Sure.
think it's really about identifying when there's recognition among your clients and prospects that something is really needed,
Mm.
and then nailing down the exact form in which it's needed and being able to provide that.
Mm. Okay. Um, and so from your experience in business, what would be your best advice, to someone who's looking to start up in business on their own, or sees an opportunity and wants to take advantage of that?
I think it's just try it,
Yep.
because you don't know till you've tried it if it's going to work. Our
Yep.
business might not have worked, but it did, and we tried
Mhm.
it. And we took those opportunities when they came up, and we were flexible to be able to change our path to meet client demand.
Sure.
So we grew quickly in Canada, but equally, if we'd seen that opportunity come up in, I don't know, France, say, then we would have
Yeah.
needed to be flexible to try and do it in France instead. So I
Sure.
think we've also been helped right from the start by being niche, by being that
Yeah.
flood specialist with a very particular skill that we can take to market.
Sure.
And I think having that niche expertise is also really critical, but then take the opportunities that arise around it.
Perfect. Okay, great stuff. Yeah, some great advice. Yeah, absolutely. I think, a lot of business is risk, isn't it? I mean, you're in a business of risk in a way, but business is risk in any shape, way, or form. And it's about learning and participating, isn't it? And getting involved are
Yeah,
crucial.
and you can keep that risk in perspective, because
Of
if you
course.
start a business and it fails, and it's a
Mm.
digital business or something, it might fail, but probably no one's died. So
Yeah,
you might as well try it, right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, yes, absolutely good stuff. And then so when you're looking at your business and your journey and with the team, what kind of things inspire you or has inspired you in the past?
I think it can come from a lot of directions. I mean, I've always had a
Mm.
deep fascination with natural catastrophes.
Hmm.
So that's a technical leaning and a technical enthusiasm.
Yeah,
But as you start to build a team, and I think particularly in our area of business and catastrophe modeling,
yeah.
we need a very wide team, because we need software developers, we need geologists, we need programmers, we need statisticians, we need people who have insurance knowledge. And I
Mm.
think then you start to build a team of really great people, none of whose jobs you could do yourself. And you see that they're all equally passionate about their particular angle on it. And I think building a team and growing a great group of people who are all enthusiastic about what they do, you can generate a huge amount of momentum with that. And I would say now that I'm as much motivated by the people that we employ as I am by my original technical leaning. And then add to that, you've also got a lot of clients who we're lucky to work with some really intelligent and really nice people among our clients. And
Mm.
when they come to you with a problem that says, "Hey, I'm struggling with this," it's really nice to have the ability to help them with that, and deliver something that really takes some meaning to them.
Perfect. Great stuff. Brilliant. So just to finish off, if people want to find out more about, the business and what you do, where's the best place to contact you or to, say, get more information on JBA?
Yes. So I'd point everyone to our website, which is www.jbarisk.com.
Perfect. Okay. Well, Jane, it's been a pleasure to speak to you. Thanks for it's been great to understand, these interviews are great because you just get to meet so many different types of businesses and understand how, try and get an understanding of how, from the insurance perspective, how then they go about doing and the background that they then go into and use companies like yourselves to ensure that they've got the best information when they're making their decisions. So yeah, it's been a really interesting chat. Thank you so much for your time, and yeah, good luck with what you're doing in the future.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and I hope it's been interesting.
Yeah, it has very much so. Cheers, Jane. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.